My phone buzzed at 8:17 on Christmas morning. I was standing in my kitchen at 214 Whittington Avenue, holding a spoon over a bowl of biscuit dough. The message was from my son Jacob. "We're spending today with the family that supports us." I read it twice. The oven clicked behind me. The kitchen smelled like butter and coffee. I had set 3 places at the table, though Jacob had never actually confirmed what time they were coming. That was how plans worked with him by then. I prepared. He decided. There was another message underneath. "Hope you understand. We'll call later." I put the spoon down beside the bowl. Then I wiped my hands on the towel hanging from the oven door. At first, I thought Marissa had written it. She sometimes used Jacob's phone when he was driving, but it was Christmas morning. They weren't driving anywhere at 8:17. Even if she had typed the words, he had allowed her to send them. I looked at the empty places across from mine. Marissa had asked me to use the green napkins. She said they photographed better than the red ones. I had ironed them the night before. My thumb rested over the reply box. There were several things I could have written. None of them would have made my son walk through that door. So I locked the phone and set it beside my coffee. That wasn't where the trouble started. It was only the first time Jacob put the truth in writing. My husband died in the spring of 2021. After the funeral, people kept bringing food I didn't want. There were casseroles in every shape of glass dish. I spent 2 weeks returning dishes to people whose names I had written on masking tape. Jacob came by often then. He was 40 and still called before opening the refrigerator. That pleased me more than it should have. "Mom, you've got 4 kinds of potato salad." "I know. What are you going to do with all this?" "Apparently I'm opening a deli." He smiled, then shut the refrigerator. Marissa usually came with him. She would clear the mail from my table and wipe the counter without being asked. She didn't sit still well. Even when she was trying to help, she moved like someone was timing her. One afternoon, she found my husband's reading glasses beside his chair. She held them by one arm. "Do you want me to put these away?" I was folding a dish towel. "No, leave them there." She set them down carefully. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know." For a while, the 3 of us did all right. We ate together on Sundays. Jacob fixed the loose rail on my back steps. Marissa helped me cancel a magazine subscription that kept renewing. They brought groceries when the weather turned bad. I believed we were learning a new version of family. The next year, I added them to my household membership at the Lake Hamilton Civic Club. My husband and I had joined years before. We went for supper twice a month. He liked the fried catfish, though his doctor kept telling him not to order it. After he died, I stopped going for a while. The club office sent renewal papers to the house. I left them in my mail tray for 9 days. Then Jacob saw them. "You're not dropping the membership, are you?" "I haven't decided. You love that place. Your father loved it. You did too." I looked toward the window. It's different going alone. Jacob sat across from me. "Then don't go alone." That was his idea. He and Marissa could join my sponsored household. We could meet for dinner there. I could use the pool in summer with Marissa. Jacob said the club might also help them meet local business owners. They were both doing contract work then. Jacob handled operations for small companies. Marissa did marketing plans and client presentations. They talked about opening a consulting company together someday. "I don't want you paying for our meals," Jacob said. "You'd have cards attached to my account. We'd pay you back every month." Marissa nodded. "Absolutely. We only want access." The agreement explained that I was the primary member. Their cards existed through my sponsorship. Their charges appeared on my statement. I could remove the sponsorship whenever I wished. It was ordinary paperwork, nothing dramatic. I signed it at my desk while Jacob stood beside the window. When the cards arrived, I gave them to him in 2 plain white envelopes. "Your father would like this," I said. Jacob rubbed his thumb across his name on the card. "We'll take care of you, Mom." I believed him. For the first few months, the arrangement worked. We had dinner together. Jacob sent me money for their charges. Marissa called before putting a client lunch on the account. Then the payments started arriving late. It was never a refusal. There was always a reason. A client hadn't paid them yet. Their water heater had broken. Jacob had changed banks. Marissa needed to check which dinner was business and which was personal. Just send it when you sort it out, I would say. They always thanked me. That made it feel temporary. By the summer of 2026, I was seeing more of their names on club statements than I was seeing of them in person. The statements came to my house. I kept them in the wooden mail tray near the front door. Once a month, I sat at the kitchen table with a yellow marker and went through every charge. Jacob and Marissa had become busy. That was the word Jacob used, busy. They were building the consulting company. They had meetings most evenings. Weekends were for planning. When I asked about Sunday dinner, he would lower his voice. "Let me check with Marissa." He said it as if Marissa kept the calendar in a locked room. Still, they found time to use the club. There were dinners with prospective clients, drinks after meetings, a Saturday brunch for 6 people. One evening included 2 bottles of wine costing more than my weekly groceries. I called Jacob. "Was the brunch yours?" He paused. "What brunch?" "The club statement says 6 guests." "Oh, right. That was Marissa's parents. Susan and Gary?" "Yeah. Gary introduced us to someone." "Did the introduction work?" "We'll see." "And the wine?" Another pause. "Probably Marissa." I moved the statement away from my coffee. "You said you were separating business charges." "We are. It's just been crazy. The club wants one payment." "It doesn't care which part was crazy." He laughed lightly. I didn't. "I'll talk to Marissa," he said. "When?" "Tonight." The money arrived 12 days later. It didn't cover everything, but I accepted it. That was my part in the problem. I kept accepting pieces because asking for the whole amount felt rude. Marissa's parents lived across town. Susan was cheerful in a way that filled every quiet space. Gary liked to give advice, especially about business. They weren't unkind to me when we were together. They simply occupied whatever room Marissa gave them. At first, I didn't mind. A daughter should love her parents. I certainly expected Jacob to love me. The difference came slowly. Marissa posted photographs from dinners I hadn't known about. She called them family nights. Susan sat beside her in nearly every picture. Gary and Jacob stood behind them with their hands on the women's chairs. Sometimes I recognized the club dining room. I had paid the statement for one of those dinners. No one had asked me to attend. I mentioned it to Jacob the next time he came over. He was standing on a chair, changing the battery in my smoke detector. I'd already bought the battery. I only needed his height. "I saw the pictures from dinner," I said. "What pictures?" "At the club." He pushed the battery into place. "Oh, that. Was there a reason I wasn't invited?" He climbed down too quickly. The chair scraped the floor. It was last minute. There were 8 people. Gary brought some contacts. It turned into a thing. So it was business? Sort of. Marissa called it family night. Jacob folded the empty battery package in half. Then he folded it again. You know how she is online. I know what she wrote. "Mom, don't make this bigger." I took the chair from him and put it back at the table. I asked one question. He dropped the folded package into my trash. "We should have invited you." "Yes, I'm sorry. Did Marissa think so?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "I haven't talked to her about it." That answered more than he meant it to. Before he left, he kissed my cheek and carried a bag of old clothes to my car. He was helpful in ways that could be completed quickly. A battery, a bag, a kiss at the door. Anything larger had to be checked with Marissa. A week later, she called me at 9 in the morning. "Carolyn, are you home today?" "I plan to be." "Could you do me a huge favor?" I looked at the grocery list in front of me. "What is it?" "We have sample folders at the printer. They close before our meeting ends. Could you pick them up?" "Where?" "Near Central Avenue. It's not far from you. It was nearly 20 minutes away." "What time do you need them?" "Before 5. You can leave them with the receptionist at Jacob's office." So I pick them up and take them to his office. "If you don't mind." I did mind. But saying that still felt like refusing Jacob, not Marissa. "All right, you're a lifesaver." At the print shop, the folders filled 2 heavy boxes. The young man behind the counter helped me carry them to my car. At Jacob's office, the receptionist had already left. I called him. "Where should I put these?" What, the folders? Oh, Marissa said you'd bring them tomorrow. She told me today. Can you leave them by the side entrance? In the parking lot? There's an overhang. Dark clouds were gathering over the building. Jacob, these are paper. He sighed. Okay. Hang on. I waited 14 minutes before he came downstairs. He took one box, then looked surprised when I opened the back door and showed him the second. Wow, she ordered a lot. Yes, thanks, Mom, seriously. Are you coming Sunday? His face changed. I don't know yet. You don't know whether you're free? We may be doing something with Susan and Gary. I shut the car door. Another family night? Mom, it was only a question. He looked toward the office entrance. I need to get back. That Sunday, I cooked for myself. I put one chicken breast in the oven and saved the other in the freezer. At 6, Marissa posted a picture from her parents' back porch. The caption thanked Susan and Gary for always showing up. Jacob was in the photograph. I closed the app before I could study his face. 2 days later, my club statement arrived. I carried it to the kitchen with the rest of the mail. There were 3 dinners I didn't recognize. One was marked as a hosted business table. Another had a service charge for 10 guests. The total was much higher than usual. I called Jacob while the statement was still open. He answered quietly, "Hey, Mom, are you at work?" "Yeah." I received the club bill. Okay, there are charges I didn't approve. They're probably company things. Probably isn't enough. Marissa has the receipts. Then ask her to send them. I will. Today. He lowered his voice. Can we not do this right now? I'm not in your office, Jacob. No one can hear me. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? He was silent. I could hear a keyboard clicking near him. Then a door closed. Marissa gets stressed when she feels questioned about money. I looked at the total again. The club questions me. My name is on the account. I know. Do you? Mom, please. We're close to launching. If you start limiting the card now, it'll cause a whole issue. I asked for receipts. I'll handle it. When? Tonight. That night passed. So did the next one. On Friday, Marissa sent me a photograph of 3 receipts. One was too blurry to read. Together, they explain less than half the charges. Under the pictures, she wrote, "Hope this helps. We appreciate your support more than you know." I did not answer. I walked into the small room where I kept my desk. The membership agreement was in the locked bottom drawer with insurance papers and my husband's death certificate. I found the key in the blue cup beside the lamp. The agreement was exactly where I had left it. I read the page about sponsored members. Then I read it again. Their access depended on my consent. Their charges depended on my account. Neither was permanent. I still wasn't planning to remove them. I wanted Jacob to keep his word without being forced. So I took the agreement to the kitchen. I placed it beside the statement and opened a new page in my notebook. I wrote down every charge that lacked a clear receipt. Then I added the errands from that month. Folders, dry cleaning, club reservation inquiry. Susan's birthday flowers, which Marissa had asked me to collect. The list filled most of the page. My phone rang while I was adding the dates. It was Marissa. Did you see the receipts? I saw 3. That should cover most of it. It doesn't. She gave a small laugh. Well, I'm not an accountant. Neither am I. I can still subtract. The line went quiet. Then she said, Jacob told me you were upset about the family dinner. This call is about the club bill. I just don't want different things getting mixed together. They're already together, Marissa. The dinner is on my statement. That was networking. You called it family night. She paused. It can be both, apparently. Her voice sharpened. What does that mean? It means I'm done chasing receipts. So what are you saying? I'm saying the cards won't be used again until this statement is explained. She took a breath. We have meetings next week. Then use another card. Carolyn, that puts us in a difficult position. I looked at the membership agreement beside my hand. No, I said. It puts you in your own position. After we hung up, I signed into the membership portal. I changed the account password, printed the recent activity, and placed both pages inside the agreement. Then I locked the folder back in my desk drawer. It was a small thing. Jacob and Marissa still had their cards. The account was still mine. But for the first time since my husband died, I stopped waiting for someone else to decide what my help was worth. The next morning, Jacob called before I finished breakfast. "Did you change the password?" "Yes." "Marissa tried to check the charges. She can send me the receipts. She needs to see the account. She needs to see her receipts." He breathed into the phone. "You know what I mean." "I do. That's why I changed it." He went quiet. I buttered my toast and waited. "Are you canceling our cards?" "Not today." "Then what's the point?" "The point is that you ask before spending my money. We always pay you back." "Eventually." "That's not fair." I looked toward the mail tray. 2 late payments were still clipped to the previous statements. Which part isn't fair? He didn't answer. A cabinet door closed near him. Then Marissa said something I couldn't make out. Jacob lowered his voice. "She thinks this is because you weren't invited to dinner. It's because I wasn't invited to dinner, but I was invited to pay for it. Mom, you didn't pay. We reimbursed you. 3 weeks later. We had cash flow problems. Then you shouldn't have ordered 2 bottles of wine." He sighed again. That sigh had become a tool. It told me I was making a simple thing difficult. I had heard it when I asked about Sunday dinners. I heard it when I wanted receipts. I had even heard it when Marissa forgot my birthday lunch, and I asked whether we could choose another day. "You're putting me in the middle," he said. I set down my knife. "There shouldn't be a middle between you and your own behavior." "That's not what I'm saying." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Marissa is under pressure." "We both are." "And that gives her my account password?" "No." "Then we agree." He was silent again. Finally, he said, "Can we come over tonight?" "Yes." "Both of us?" "I assumed so. Maybe we can clear this up." I spent the day expecting that visit. I vacuumed the living room, though it didn't need it. I took a package of pork chops from the freezer. Then I caught myself peeling potatoes for 3 people. That was how quickly hope made work for me. At 5:30, Jacob texted, "Running late. Don't cook for us. The pork chops were already in the oven." At 6:10, he texted again, "Marissa is exhausted. Can we do tomorrow?" I wrote, "Yes." Then I put 2 pork chops in a covered dish. The next evening, only Jacob came. He carried a paper sack from the club restaurant. "Marissa sent you the chicken salad you like. I made dinner." He looked toward the stove. "I told you not to." "That was yesterday." "Oh." He put the sack on the counter. The club receipt was stapled to it. The charge had gone to my account before I changed the password. I could see the last 4 digits of his sponsored card. I pulled the receipt free. "You charged my gift to me." His face tightened. I didn't think about it. That seems to be happening often. It was $11. It could have been $1. He sat at the kitchen table and rubbed both hands over his face. "I'll send it tonight." "That isn't the point." "I know. Do you?" He looked tired. His shirt was wrinkled at the waist. There was a small ink mark near his cuff. For a moment, I saw the boy who used to come home with grass stains and swear he hadn't been sliding into anything. Then he reached for the statement. "Can I take this?" "No. I want to compare it with our records. You can sit here and compare it." He glanced toward the desk room. "Where's the agreement? In a safe place." His head lifted. "Why?" "Because it's mine." "Mom, nobody's trying to take it. I didn't say they were." He leaned back. The kitchen clock clicked through several seconds. Finally, I asked, "Did you know about the family dinner?" "Yes." "Did you ask why I wasn't invited?" "No. Did you notice?" He stared at the statement. "Yes." That was the first clean answer he had given me. I waited. He moved his finger along the edge of the paper. Marissa wanted her parents there because Gary was bringing those contacts. There were other people's spouses. I know. The picture didn't show any contacts. It showed family. I know. Then say the part you keep avoiding. He looked at me. She didn't want you there. The refrigerator motor came on behind us. I held the receipt between 2 fingers. $11 for chicken salad I hadn't asked for. Why? She thinks you watch what she spends. I do. She spends through my account. She means in general. I don't know what she spends in general. She feels judged. Does Susan make her feel judged? No. Does Susan receive the bill? No. I folded the receipt once. Jacob looked toward the stove. Can we eat after you answer me? I did. No. You explained Marissa. I asked about you. He pressed his lips together. I could see him deciding how much truth he could afford. I should have said something, but you didn't. No. Why? Because every time I challenge her about family, it becomes 3 days of fighting. And how many days does it become for me? He looked down. I had my answer, but I didn't feel better for having it. I put food on 2 plates. We ate at the kitchen table without saying much. Jacob praised the pork chops twice. He asked whether the back porch light still flickered. He offered to replace it on Saturday. He could feel the space between us. He kept trying to fill it with small repairs. After dinner, he opened his banking app. I'm sending you the rest of the club charges. How much? He named an amount that was still short. I turned the statement toward him and pointed to the hosted table. This wasn't included. Marissa says Gary is covering that. Gary didn't charge it. You did. He said he'd help. When? I don't know. Then you pay me. Gary can pay you. That'll leave us tight this month. I sat back. You spent it last month. He looked at the figures again. We've got launch expenses. For the company? Yes. Then use the company account. We're still moving money into it. From where? He rubbed his forehead. Everywhere. I waited while he changed the transfer amount. His phone made a soft sound. There, he said. The full amount. It was the first useful answer I had received in days. Thank you. He looked almost offended by the words. You could trust me a little. I trusted you enough to put a card in your wallet. He slipped the phone into his pocket. Are you going to turn the password back? No. His chair moved against the floor. What are we supposed to do when we have a client dinner? Use your own money and get reimbursed later? That's what you've asked me to do. He stood very still. Then he carried both plates to the sink. Before leaving, he stopped beside the mail tray. His hand rested on the edge, but he didn't touch the papers. Marissa's going to take this personally. She used my personal account. That's not what I mean, I know. He left without mentioning the porch light. The next Saturday came and went. The light still flickered. On Monday, Marissa called just before lunch. Her voice was warm again. Carolyn, I hate that things got tense. So do I. I think everybody's nerves are stretched. Probably. We're trying to build something from nothing. I opened the refrigerator and took out the chicken salad Jacob had brought. I hadn't touched it. You're not building from nothing, I said. What do you mean? You use my club membership. I meant the company. So did I. She was quiet for half a second. Then she laughed. Well, yes, the club has been helpful. We've always said that. You've said you appreciate it. We do. Those are easy words. Her voice cooled slightly. Jacob told me he paid everything. He did. Then I'm not sure what else you want. I looked at the plastic container in my hand. My own name was printed at the top of the receipt. I want the arrangement we agreed to. Which arrangement? You ask before business charges. You pay them promptly. You don't treat my account as part of your company. We don't. You tried to get the password. To check our own spending. You can check your receipts. She exhaled. All right, we'll do it your way. It is my account. I know, Carolyn. The way she said my name made it sound like I had missed a courtesy she was performing. Then her voice brightened. Actually, while I have you, are you free Thursday afternoon? I nearly laughed. Instead, I shut the refrigerator. Why? We need someone at the house for a delivery. What delivery? A display stand and some printed materials. The company's shipping address isn't set up properly yet, so it's coming to your house. Yes. They gave us a 4-hour window, and you want me to wait there, if you're free. I looked at my calendar. Thursday was empty. That didn't make my time hers. No, I said. Another brief silence. You have plans? I do now. Oh. She recovered quickly. "No problem, I'll ask Susan." "Good." Her voice changed when she said goodbye. The warmth had gone. So had the apology. On Thursday, I went to the club for lunch. I hadn't planned to until that phone call. I put on a blue blouse, drove along Central Avenue, and arrived a little after noon. The hostess knew my name. "Mrs. Hayes, it's nice to see you. It's nice to be here." She offered me a table near the windows. I almost asked for a smaller one in the corner. Then I stopped myself. The table by the window was already set. I ordered soup and half a sandwich. I read the local paper while I ate. No one asked me to collect anything. No one handed me a bill that belonged to someone else. When the server brought my tea, she said, "Your son and daughter-in-law come in quite a bit, so I've noticed. They've been busy planning something." "What sort of something?" She hesitated. "I may be speaking out of turn, then don't." I smiled so she would know I meant it kindly. She nodded and left. A few minutes later, I saw the events manager cross the dining room with a folder. Marissa followed beside her. Susan walked on Marissa's other side. They didn't see me at first. Marissa was pointing toward the hall leading to the private rooms. "If we place registration outside, people can move straight in." The events manager said something about guest flow. Susan touched Marissa's arm. "It's going to look beautiful." Marissa smiled at her. "We couldn't do any of this without you and Dad." I kept my eyes on the newspaper, though I hadn't turned the page. They walked toward the Wachita room. Susan noticed me just before they reached the hall. She stopped. "Carolyn?" Marissa turned. For 1 second, her face showed surprise. Then the pleasant expression returned. "What are you doing here?" I folded the newspaper. "Having lunch. By yourself?" "Yes." The question landed harder than she intended, or perhaps exactly as she intended. Susan came closer. "We're looking at space for the company launch. That sounds exciting." "It is," she said. "These two have worked so hard." Marissa glanced at the events manager who was waiting near the hall. "We're still very early in planning." "Of course," I said. She looked at the table, my handbag, and the single-place setting. "You should have called me." "Why? We might have included you in the room tour, in lunch." "You're not having lunch." Susan looked between us. Marissa gave a tight smile. "We're in the middle of something. I can see that." The events manager called her name. Marissa turned toward the hall. "We'll talk later." Susan touched my shoulder before following her. "You must be so proud." I looked at Marissa standing beneath the sign for the Wachita room. "I'm still learning what I'm part of." Susan's hand dropped. She opened her mouth, but Marissa called for her. I finished my lunch slowly. Then I paid with my own primary card and asked the server for a printed receipt. At home, I put that receipt in my notebook. Under it, I wrote the date and one sentence. Marissa was planning a company event at my club, and she had brought Susan to see the room. I sat there with my pen uncapped. Then I added the truth that belonged to me. I had kept saying yes because every errand gave me a reason to believe they still needed me. I had confused being useful with being included. The sentence looked plain on the page. That made it harder to avoid. I closed the notebook and called the club. The events manager answered on the third ring. "I have a question about the Wachita room," I said. "What can I help you with?" "I saw my daughter-in-law touring it yesterday. She has a sponsored card on my membership." There was a pause. I heard a keyboard. "May I have your member number?" I gave it to her. "And your full name?" "Carolyn Hayes." She asked 2 security questions. Then the keyboard started again. "Yes, Mrs. Hayes. I see the event inquiry." "Inquiry or reservation?" "It's a tentative reservation." "What does that mean?" "The room is being held, but the final event payment hasn't been made." "Whose name is on it?" "Marissa Hayes and Jacob Hayes are listed as organizers." "Whose account is attached?" Another short pause. "The event was initiated through a sponsored household card. That card is connected to your primary membership." I looked at my locked desk drawer. "Does that mean the final payment comes to me?" "Only if they charge it through the membership." "Can they do that without asking me?" As active sponsored members, they currently have charging privileges. The word currently stayed with me. I already knew I could end those privileges. I had read the agreement twice. What I hadn't known was that Marissa had already placed the room under them. How much is still due? The final payment is $9,600. I sat down. And when is it due? December 27th. It was early October. They had more than 2 months. If it isn't paid, the tentative reservation is released. Can they pay directly? Yes. They don't have to use your membership account. They may pay with their own approved method before the deadline, so the room doesn't belong to them yet. No, ma'am, it's being held under the event terms. Did they place a deposit? A preliminary room hold was charged. I looked toward the mail tray. How much? She told me. It matched one of the unexplained charges on my statement. I had asked Jacob about it. He had called it a client meeting. Thank you, I said. Would you like me to add a note that final charges require your approval? I almost said yes. Then I stopped. A note could be misunderstood. It might also warn them before I had decided what I wanted. Not yet. I need to speak with my family. Of course. One more thing. If their sponsored privileges ended before the deadline, could they still keep the reservation? Yes, if they paid directly by December 27th. And if they didn't, the room would be released. The answer was simple. No one would take their company. No one would stop them from holding an event somewhere else. The club would only refuse to provide an unpaid room. I thanked her and ended the call. The action had taken less than 10 minutes. It gave me exactly what I wanted, a clear answer. It also gave me a deadline I hadn't expected. I unlocked the desk and took out the folder. On the printed activity page, I found the room hold charge. Beside it, I wrote, Wachita room. Then I wrote the unpaid amount and the date. I didn't call Jacob. For once, I wanted to know what he would tell me without knowing what I had already learned. He called that evening. Are you free tomorrow? For what? We need help assembling some welcome packets. Who's we? Me and Marissa. At your office? At the house. What time? After lunch. It shouldn't take long. What are they for? He hesitated. The company? That isn't what I asked. A launch event? At the club? The silence lasted just long enough. How did you know? I saw Marissa touring the room. Oh, with Susan. Gary was supposed to come too. That wasn't an answer, but it told me where his mind went first. When were you planning to tell me? We're still working things out. You already reserved the room. It's not final, so you knew that much. He lowered his voice. Marissa wanted to get everything in place before we told people. Am I people? You know what I mean. I'm asking because I don't. He made a small, frustrated sound. You're our family. Then why am I finding out from a hallway? It wasn't meant to be secret. You charged the room hold to my account and called it a client meeting. I didn't call it that. Yes, you did. I probably didn't understand which charge you meant. Did you know Marissa used the card? I knew she was holding the room. Did you know it appeared on my bill? He didn't answer directly. We were going to pay everything. When? Before the event. With what money? The company has income coming in. That's not money. That's a hope. Mom, we're not asking you to fund the launch. You already did. It was a room hold. That still cost money. I paid you back. After I identified it. He went quiet. I opened my notebook to the page from lunch. Why is Susan helping with the event? She's good with details. So am I. I didn't say you weren't. You asked me to assemble packets after she toured the room. That wasn't how we thought about it. How did you think about it? Can we talk tomorrow? We're talking now. He sighed. Then he said, Marissa thinks it's easier if her mother handles the public-facing parts. I held the phone tighter. What does that mean? I don't know. Welcoming people, helping with the room, things like that. And what part did you choose for me? Mom? Packets in the house? It's just a task. Yes, it is. You always say you want to help. There it was. He wasn't wrong. I had said it after his father died. I had said it when they were late with payments. I had said it while carrying boxes and collecting flowers. If there's anything I can do, call me. They had listened. I just hadn't understood that they heard the sentence without its ordinary limits. "I won't be assembling packets," I said. "Seriously?" "Yes. That leaves us short. Ask Susan. She's doing the guest list. Then ask Gary. He's handling outreach." I looked at the room hold charge on the page. "So everyone has a role." "Of course." "What's mine?" He didn't answer. I waited. Finally, he said, "I have to go." "So do I." I ended the call before he could soften it. The next afternoon, I drove to the grocery store. I bought coffee, apples, and a small bag of flour. I passed the printer near Central Avenue on my way home. My phone rang at the traffic light. Marissa. I let it go to voicemail. She called again before I reached Whittington Avenue. I answered after pulling into my driveway. "Hello? Jacob says you're not coming." "That's right. We bought all the supplies. Then you're ready to begin." "Carolyn, there are nearly 200 packets. I didn't choose that number. We thought 4 people would work on them." "Who's the 4th?" "Gary. I thought he was handling outreach. He can do both. So can Susan. She has arthritis in her hands." "I didn't know that. She doesn't complain." The last sentence was placed carefully. I looked at my grocery bag on the passenger seat. "Then you and Jacob can do them. We have a client dinner." "At the club? What difference does that make?" "It makes a difference to my statement. We're using a company card. Good." She went quiet. Then she said, "I don't understand what's happening with you. I asked for receipts, and we gave them to you. You gave me 3. Jacob paid the account. After I insisted. This isn't about money. No, it isn't only about money." Her tone shifted. "If you're upset that my parents are involved, just say that. I'm not upset they're involved. It certainly feels that way. I'm upset that I'm involved only when you need labor or a card. That's not true." "Then tell me what I'm doing at the launch." "You'll be there." "Doing what?" "Enjoying yourself." "As a guest?" "Obviously. When did you plan to invite me?" "The invitations aren't even finished, but the guest list is." She didn't answer. I could hear paper moving near her. "Carolyn, I have 200 envelopes in front of me, and I have groceries in my car. You're really going to leave us like this? You're at your own table with your own project." She gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "All right." She hung up. I carried my groceries inside one bag at a time. The porch light was still flickering, though it wasn't dark enough to see it clearly. That evening, Jacob sent a photograph. He and Gary were seated at the dining table. Stacks of folders surrounded them. Susan was putting labels on envelopes. Marissa stood behind the chairs with both hands raised as if she were conducting an orchestra. Under the picture, Jacob wrote, "We survived." I looked at the photograph. They had finished without me. That should have hurt less than being used. Instead, it touched the foolish part of me that had wanted them to fail at one small task without my hands. I typed, "Glad you got it done." Then I deleted it. I sent nothing. The following Sunday, I set one place at my kitchen table. I didn't text Jacob. I didn't ask whether he and Marissa were free. I roasted vegetables and ate them with leftover chicken. At 7, someone knocked. Jacob stood on the porch, holding a new light fixture. I thought I'd take care of this. I opened the door wider. You remembered. I said I would. 2 weeks ago. I've been busy. I let him in. He changed the fixture while I held the ladder. When he finished, he flipped the switch. Steady yellow light filled the porch. "There," he said. "Thank you." He carried the old fixture into the kitchen. I handed him a trash bag. "Marissa's mad at me," he said. "About the packets?" "About all of it." "What does that include?" He twisted the bag around the fixture. "She thinks you're trying to make her feel guilty. Is it working?" He looked at me. "That's not funny. I wasn't joking." He tied the bag. "She feels like you don't respect what we're building." "I don't respect using my account without telling me. That's been handled." The charge was repaid. The choice wasn't handled. He leaned against the counter. "What do you want us to do?" "Pay your own expenses." "We will. Ask before using my membership for business." "Fine. And don't assign me work for an event you haven't invited me to." "You're invited." "Where's the invitation?" "They haven't gone out." Then don't tell me something you haven't done. His jaw tightened. You know you're coming. No, Jacob. I know you want my help. That's not fair. It's exact. He looked toward the living room. My husband's reading glasses were still beside the chair. After a moment, he said, Marissa doesn't understand why everything has to be formal with you. Formal. Invitations, receipts, asking permission. I stared at him. Those are 3 different kinds of respect. She thinks family shouldn't keep score. Then why does she keep thanking Susan and Gary in public? His face changed. I stepped closer. Does she talk about me? What do you mean? When she tells people who helped build this company, does she mention me? I don't know. You've been beside her. You know. He looked at the trash bag in his hand. She talks about her parents more. Why? They've encouraged her. So have I. They believe in the company. I paid for the rooms where you met clients. His voice dropped. I know. Does she? Yes. Does anyone else? He didn't answer. I opened the back door and pointed toward the outdoor bin. He carried the old fixture outside. When he returned, I had placed the latest statement on the table. I want every current charge settled before the next statement closes. He looked at the total. We can't do all of that this week. You told me everything had been handled. I meant the charges we discussed. These are new. He scanned the page. Some of these are legitimate business expenses. They can be legitimate on your card. He sat down. This is going to cause problems. The charges caused problems. He read each line. Then he circled 4 with my pen. I need to ask Marissa about these. Do that. What if we need more time? I've already given you time. He pushed the statement away. You're choosing a bad moment. When would your good moment be? After the launch. The answer came too quickly. I nodded. That's what I needed to know. What? You expected my account to carry you until the event? No, that's not what I said. It's what the timing says. He stood. We'll pay it. When? Before the statement closes. Put that in a message tonight. Why? So neither of us has to remember differently. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he picked up the statement and photographed the charges. His message arrived at 8:43. We'll clear all current club charges before the statement closes. We'll use our own payment methods for business spending going forward. I saved it. The deliberate question had worked. Jacob had finally stated the arrangement plainly. 2 weeks later, the monthly statement arrived. I placed it in the mail tray and opened it after lunch. The balance had not been cleared. More charges had appeared. One was for invitation printing through the club's event service. Another was for a larger guest count in the Ouachita room. At the bottom, the total due was $14,800. I checked my phone. There was no message from Jacob. That afternoon, I walked to the mailbox expecting nothing more than advertisements and a utility notice. A cream envelope lay underneath them. My address was printed neatly across the front. Inside was the invitation to Jacob and Marissa's company launch gala. The card thanked Susan and Gary for their support in making the new venture possible. My name appeared nowhere. I read the guest instructions twice. Then I turned the invitation over. Someone had written a note on the back in Marissa's handwriting. Carolyn, please arrive early. We'll need help welcoming guests. I left the card on the kitchen table until evening. Then I called Jacob. I received the invitation. Oh, good. Have you looked at it? Marissa showed me the design. Did you read the wording? I think so. Read it again. He was quiet. What's wrong with it? I'm asking you to tell me. Mom, I'm driving. Call me when you're parked. It's just an invitation. It's also a bill. He exhaled. What does that mean? The printing charge is on my club statement. I thought Marissa used our business card. She didn't. Okay, I'll ask her. The statement is $14,800. His voice changed. That can't be right. I'm looking at it. We didn't spend that much. The event charges are mixed with your meals and other expenses. Some of that has to be yours. It isn't. I need to see the statement. You saw it before promising to clear it. I mean the new one. Come tomorrow. Bring Marissa. He tried to delay until the weekend. I said no. They arrived at 7 the next evening. Marissa carried her laptop. Jacob had the expression he wore when he entered a room already apologizing. I had placed the statement, invitation, and his message on the table. Marissa sat down without removing her coat. I wish you had called me directly. I called the person who promised payment. We share the company. You share the charges too. She opened her laptop. Can we approach this without hostility? I've made coffee. That isn't what I mean. I know. Jacob sat beside her. I remained across from them. Marissa reviewed the statement line by line. She said several dinners were client development. The invitation printing was a launch expense. The room charges were necessary because the club required setup services. I let her finish. Which of those did I approve? You gave us club access. For dinners, we repaid. We're repaying this. When? After the launch. Jacob looked at her. We said before the statement closed. I know what we said. It closed, I said. She leaned back. We're in the middle of moving money around. From where? Receivables. So clients haven't paid you. They will. And until then? She looked at Jacob. He reached for the invitation. I can send part this week. I'm not asking for part. Mom, $14,800 is a lot at once. It was also a lot one charge at a time. Marissa tapped one fingernail beside the event total. The gala will bring in business. That may be true. Then you understand why this matters. I understand why it matters to you. Her mouth tightened. Jacob turned the invitation over. He saw the note asking me to arrive early. We do need someone at the entrance, he said. I looked at him. He stopped speaking. Marissa stepped in. It's an important role. You know nearly everyone at the club. Then why doesn't the invitation thank me? She glanced at the front. The thank you is personal. So is my account. Susan and Gary have helped us through the entire process. How? Gary made introductions. My mother helped with planning. And I provided access to the place where it happened. No one is denying that. The card does. It's not a financial disclosure. I didn't ask for a financial disclosure. I asked why the two people receiving public credit aren't receiving the bill. Marissa closed the laptop halfway. This sounds like jealousy. Jacob said her name softly. She continued, My parents have shown up for us. I'm allowed to appreciate them. I haven't asked you to remove their names. Then what do you want? I want you to assume your own club charges. I want the public credit corrected before the gala. Her eyes narrowed. How? You're the marketing professional. That wording has already been printed. You have a website. You have social pages. You'll speak at the event. She gave a short laugh. You want us to announce that you paid for everything? I didn't pay for everything. Then what exactly are we correcting? That I supported the company. That the club access and expenses came through me. Jacob rubbed his forehead. Can we deal with the money first? They're the same issue, I said. No, they're not. They became the same when you printed invitations on my account. Marissa opened the laptop again. We can make a payment next month. The club needs payment now. They won't suspend you over one statement. I won't test that. This is what I mean, she said. You always assume the worst. I assumed you would keep your written promise. She looked at Jacob's message. He stared at the table. I'm sorry, he said. Marissa turned toward him. Don't. What? Don't sit there acting like I did this alone. I didn't say you did. You approved the guest count, and you charged it. They began arguing across my table. I listened for less than a minute. Stop. Neither did. I stood and collected the papers. That quieted them. You have until Friday to send the full amount. Marissa looked up. That's impossible. Then send what you can and give me a dated plan for the rest. What about the gala payment? You'll pay it yourselves. We were always going to. Good. Jacob stood too. Mom, if you refuse the event charge right now, it could damage our launch. I'm refusing every future charge. That's a major decision. So, was using my membership without asking. Marissa pushed her chair back. I knew this would happen. What would happen? You'd offer support, then pull it away when you didn't feel appreciated enough. The room became very still. Jacob looked at her. That's not fair. She turned on him. You've said the same thing. He didn't deny it. I folded the invitation and placed it inside the statement. Leave my house. Marissa blinked. Carolyn, take your laptop, take your coat, leave. Jacob stepped toward me. Mom, let's calm down. I am calm. We can fix this. Then start outside. They left without taking the coffee I had poured. I locked the door behind them. Friday came with no payment plan. Jacob sent $2,000 and wrote, working on the rest. Marissa sent nothing. I called the club's billing office and paid the entire balance myself. $14,800 left my savings that morning. The transfer protected my membership and my standing. It also removed the excuse that I was threatening the club to punish them. Their debt was now to me. I printed the confirmation and put it in the folder. Then I sent one message to both of them. The existing account is cleared. You owe me $12,800. Do not place another charge on my membership. The gala's final payment is your responsibility. Jacob called within minutes. Why did you pay it? Because it's my account. We were working on it. You had a deadline. I sent money. You sent part. We can pay more after Christmas. Send a schedule. Mom, why are you treating us like strangers? Strangers don't carry my club cards. He lowered his voice. Marissa thinks we should cancel the gala. That's your decision. Do you want us to? I want you to pay for what you planned. You know we can't cover $9,600 right now. That was the first time he admitted it. Then change the plan. We've invited people. You invited people before securing the money. We thought the account gave us time. My account? Yes. The word came out sharp. Then he softened. If the gala falls apart, this is going to affect our relationship. I sat at my desk with the payment confirmation in front of me. Is that a warning? No. I'm telling you how serious it is. I know how serious it is. I just paid your balance. We didn't ask you to do that. You did when you left it in my name. He said nothing. Send the repayment schedule, I said. I ended the call. The schedule arrived that night. It promised monthly payments beginning in January. Marissa's name wasn't on the message. During the next few weeks, I stopped doing errands. The requests still came. Marissa asked if I could collect table linens. I said no. Jacob asked whether I could let a delivery company into their house. I said no. Marissa sent me a list of refreshments and asked which ones the club served. I gave her the club's public phone number. Each refusal took less time than the favor would have. Each one also cost me a conversation. By December, they called only when they wanted to discuss the account or the gala. I kept waiting for Jacob to visit without a purpose. He didn't. A week before Christmas, I saw photographs from a dinner at Susan and Gary's house. Jacob wore the green sweater I had given him the year before. There were wrapped gifts on a side table. Marissa's caption called it an early family celebration. I called Jacob the next morning. Were you planning to see me for Christmas? Of course. What day? We haven't settled it. Christmas is in 6 days. I know. I need to buy food. Don't do anything big. I asked what day. He lowered his voice. Marissa wants Christmas Day with her parents. What do you want? I'm trying to keep everyone happy. That wasn't my question. Can we come Christmas Eve? I have church. After? That would be nearly 9. We could stop by. The phrase stopped by felt smaller than the green napkins in my drawer. Come for dinner another night, I said. Mom, don't be like that. Like what? No, I don't. He promised to call with a plan. He didn't. On Christmas Eve, Marissa texted asking whether I still had the silver serving tray she liked. I replied, yes. She asked if Jacob could collect it. I wrote, no. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then returned. She sent, never mind. I went to church alone. When I came home, I took the green napkins from the drawer and ironed 3 of them anyway. Hope can survive facts longer than it deserves. The next morning, I made biscuit dough. I set 3 places. I told myself they might come for breakfast before going to Susan and Gary's house. At 8:17, my phone buzzed. I read Jacob's message beside the bowl. This time, I knew Marissa hadn't written it. Jacob always put 2 spaces after a period when he used his phone. They were there. The family they credited had their company gratitude, their holiday photographs, and Christmas Day. I had the cleared statement. I replied, then the family receiving the credit can provide the support. I waited until the message showed as delivered. Then I carried my coffee into the desk room. The membership agreement lay in the locked drawer. My portal credentials were in the folder. I signed in using the password only I knew. Both sponsored names appeared beneath mine. Jacob Hayes, Marissa Hayes. There was a button marked End Sponsored Household Privileges. I had known it was there. Knowing and pressing were different things. I clicked it. The portal asked me to confirm. It explained that their cards would stop working immediately. Tentative events would require direct payment by the existing deadline. I read every sentence. Then I confirmed. Their names turned gray. A notice appeared stating that both sponsored members had been informed. The gala balance remained due by December 27th. 2 days. I printed the confirmation and put it beside the membership agreement. My phone rang before the page had finished coming through the printer. Jacob's name filled the screen. I let it ring once. Then I answered. What did you do? I ended the sponsorship. You canceled our cards? Yes. On Christmas? You chose the timing. His breath shook. The club just emailed us. It says the gala payment is due directly. It was always due. You know what I mean? I know you expected to charge it to me. No. We expected more time. The deadline hasn't changed. It says December 27th. That's correct. Mom, that's 2 days. It was also 2 days yesterday. He went silent. I heard a door open near him. Marissa asked, Is she answering? Jacob covered the phone, but not well enough. She ended both cards. Marissa took the phone. Carolyn, you need to reverse this. No, you can't make a decision like this without warning. I gave you a written warning. You said not to make new charges. The final payment isn't new. It's part of an existing event. Then pay it. With what? That's no longer my question. Her voice rose. You know we don't have that kind of money sitting in an account. Then why did you book the room? Because we had active privileges. Through me. Yes, through family. I looked at the 3 place settings. Family was assigned somewhere else this morning. She didn't answer that. In the background, Susan asked whether something was wrong. Marissa lowered her voice. We're at my parents' house. Everyone can hear this. You called me because you deliberately created a crisis. The final payment date existed before today. We thought you supported us. I did. You left me out and continued spending. You're punishing us over Christmas plans. I cleared $14,800 after you broke a written promise. Christmas answered the last question I still had. She made a sharp sound. Then Jacob came back onto the line. Mom, please, just turn the cards on until Friday. No, we won't charge anything else. The gala payment is something else. We can move money after the launch. That's what you said about the last statement. We've learned from that. You learned the balance was cleared. He began to cry. Not loudly. His voice simply broke in the middle of my name. I held the phone against my ear and closed my eyes. A crying son can make a mother forget which one of them caused the pain. For a few seconds, I nearly walked back to the computer. Then he said, If you do this, Marissa will never forgive you. My eyes opened. What about you? What? Will you forgive me? That's not what I meant. No, it's what you've meant for years. Every choice comes down to what Marissa can tolerate. She's my wife, and I'm your mother. That doesn't mean you get to hurt her. It also doesn't mean she gets to use me. He sniffed and lowered his voice. Can we come over? For what? To talk. You're talking now. Not like this. I looked at the table again. If you come to listen. We'll be there after lunch. They arrived at 1:20. Marissa was still wearing the red sweater from the photograph Susan had posted that morning. Jacob carried his coat over one arm. Neither brought food or gifts. I had cleared the extra places from the table. Marissa noticed. You weren't expecting us? I was earlier. She put her handbag on the floor and sat. Jacob remained standing. Can I see the agreement? No. Why not? You received the club notice. I want to understand what you did. I ended privileges that belong to my membership. Can you reverse it? Marissa asked. I'm not going to. That wasn't the question. Yes, it can be reversed. No, it won't be. She looked at Jacob. So this is a choice. Of course it is. You're choosing to ruin the launch. The launch still exists. Your company still exists. The room requires payment. You know the room is the launch. No, the room is where you plan to display it. Jacob finally sat. We've invited chamber members, clients, people we need to impress, then impress them with your work. That's easy for you to say. Why? Because you're not trying to start over at our age. You're not starting over. You're starting a company. Marissa leaned forward. We built the entire presentation around that room. The room is still available until Friday. $9,600 might as well be $90,000 right now. That should have mattered before you sent invitations. We had an account. You had my account. Her eyes filled with tears. We thought you wanted to help us. I wanted shared dinners with my son. Jacob looked away. I continued. I didn't buy a business package. I added you to my household. We didn't force you, Marissa said. No, you only made continued access the price of being needed. She wiped beneath one eye. That's a terrible thing to say. It was a terrible thing to notice. Jacob put both hands flat on the table. What would it take? For what? To turn the cards back on? Nothing. There has to be something. There isn't. What if we add your name to the website? Do you mean it? He hesitated. Marissa answered for him. We can post something today. That wasn't my question. She looked down. I waited. Then Jacob said, we should have credited you. Yes. We can correct it. Not as a payment for access. Then what do you want? I want you to tell the truth when the truth no longer buys anything. His hands curled against the table. That doesn't solve Friday. No. They stayed for another 20 minutes. The conversation kept circling the same place. Jacob asked for one charge. Marissa asked for 1 week. Then she offered to sign a repayment schedule for the gala amount. I refused each version. When they stood to leave, Marissa picked up her handbag. My parents will help us. I hope they do. They understand what family means. Jacob looked at her, but he said nothing. At the door, he turned back. Did you ever intend to come to the gala? Yes. Do you still? I haven't decided. He nodded once. Then he followed Marissa outside. I watched their car leave through the front window. The biscuits from that morning were still on the counter. I wrapped them and put them in the freezer. At 4, Susan called. Merry Christmas, Carolyn. Merry Christmas. I understand there's been a problem with the club. Who told you? Marissa. What did she say? That you canceled their membership over today's plans. They never had a membership. They had sponsored privileges through mine. Susan paused. All right. She may have used the wrong word. She also used the wrong reason. What is the reason? They charged $14,800 to my account. They broke a written promise to pay it before the statement closed. They expected another $9,600 for the gala. Susan was silent. Then she said, I didn't realize the amount was that high. Did you know I paid the existing balance? No. Did you know the room wasn't fully paid? Another pause. They said it was handled. By whom? I assume the company. Why? Because Marissa said the venue was covered. The words were careful. Did she say I had offered it? Susan took a breath. She said the club was your contribution. I sat down on the arm of my husband's chair. No one asked me. I didn't know that. The invitation thanks you and Gary. We didn't write it. But you knew what it said. Yes. What support did you provide? Her voice cooled. I'm not going to defend loving my daughter. I didn't ask you to. We've encouraged them. Gary has introduced them to people. I helped plan the evening. Did you agree to pay for it? No. Did they ask you today? Susan didn't answer. That was enough. They did, I said. They asked whether we could help cover the final payment. And can you? That's between us and them. Yes, it is. She softened again. Carolyn, I'm not calling to argue. Why are you calling? To see whether there's a way to settle this. There is. They can pay the club. You know that's difficult on short notice. The notice wasn't short. Their attention was. They believed the room was secure because they believed I would stay quiet. Susan sighed. I think everyone has hurt feelings. This isn't a plate passed around the table, Susan. Some feelings arrived with charges. She didn't respond. I asked one final question. When Marissa told you the club was my contribution, did she tell you I wasn't credited anywhere? No. Did she tell you I learned about the launch by seeing you tour the room? No, I thought not. We ended the call politely. That conversation gave me something useful. Susan hadn't known the arrangement. She and Gary had accepted public thanks for encouragement and introductions. They had never agreed to carry the event. Marissa had told each side only the part that kept the work moving. At 6:30, Gary called. His tone was direct. I want to understand the deadline. It's December 27th. If we provide part, will the club hold the room? You need to ask the club. They won't discuss the account with me. It isn't your account. He cleared his throat. Marissa says you can restore access immediately. I can. Will you? No. What if Jacob signs something? No. You don't trust your own son? I trust that he'll avoid a difficult conversation until someone else pays for it. Gary was quiet. I can't cover $9,600, he said. Neither can they. I could help with a small portion. That's your decision. Susan and I have already helped plenty. I know. He seemed surprised. What did Marissa tell you? Enough. No, I mean about us. She said you supported the company's success. We did. I connected them with 3 clients. That matters. It does. But she makes it sound like we financed the whole operation. I said nothing. Gary continued. I assumed you were comfortable with the club expenses. I wasn't told about most of them. Well, that one word carried embarrassment, annoyance, and a little relief that the bill wasn't his. I think Jacob needs to straighten this out, he said. I agree. After we hung up, I wrote down what both conversations had confirmed. The venue had been presented as my willing contribution. Susan and Gary had offered encouragement, planning, and introductions, not payment. Jacob and Marissa now had to tell them the rest. At 8, Marissa posted a message online. Sometimes the people you trust most withdraw support at the moment you need it. We're adjusting our launch plans, but we won't give up. She didn't name me. She didn't need to. Susan reacted with a heart. Gary did not. Jacob called at 8:14. Why did you tell them about the bill? They asked. You embarrassed Marissa. She told them the venue was my contribution. She was trying to keep things simple. Lies are simple until the bill arrives. Now Gary's questioning everything. Good. This is getting bigger than it needed to be. I looked at Marissa's public message. No, Jacob. It was already bigger. I was simply the last person told. He went quiet. Then he said, the club gave us until noon Friday to confirm how we're paying. That was earlier than I expected. What are you going to do? We're trying to find another way. Then you have an objective. So do you, apparently. He hung up before I could answer. I saved a screenshot of Marissa's post beside Jacob's written promise. Then I opened my notebook and wrote the new deadline. Friday at noon. For the first time, keeping my account closed wasn't the only task. I also had to keep their public version from becoming the only one anyone heard. I looked at the calendar again. Friday was Christmas Day. It was already after 8 in the evening. The date Jacob named had passed before he called me. I picked up the phone and called him back. He didn't answer. I sent one message. "Did you mean Sunday at noon?" The reply came 3 minutes later. "I meant they need confirmation as soon as possible. That isn't a deadline. It is to us." What did the club actually say? He stopped responding. The next morning, I called the events manager. "I need to confirm something," I said. "Has the final payment deadline changed?" "No, Mrs. Hayes. It remains December 27th. "At noon?" "The organizers need to provide payment by the final setup review. That begins at noon." "So Sunday?" "Yes." "Did anyone tell them Friday?" "No. The club was closed yesterday. I wrote that down. What happens at noon if they don't have payment? We'll review their payment method. If the balance can't be paid, the tentative booking is released. Immediately. We can't continue setup for an unpaid event. That made sense. Staff had to arrange tables, prepare food, and open the room. They weren't going to do those things on a promise. Have they given you another payment method? They said they were arranging one. Did they mention my account? They asked whether sponsored privileges could be restored by an organizer. And what did you say? Only the primary member can do that. They had already tested the door I closed. "Thank you," I said. When we finished, I crossed out Friday in my notebook. Beside it, I wrote Sunday at noon. That small lie bothered me more than the panic in Jacob's voice. He had tried to make the deadline feel confused, so I would act before checking. I opened Marissa's post again. There were more responses beneath it. Most were ordinary encouragement. "Keep going. Your hard work will pay off. Some people only support you when they can control you." That last one came from someone I recognized from the club dining room. I had spoken with her twice. She didn't know me well enough to accuse me directly, but she knew exactly whom Marissa meant. Marissa had replied, "We're learning that lesson." I took a screenshot. Then I closed the app. At 11, I drove to the club. I needed to collect a scarf I had left after lunch. At least that was the reason I gave myself. The scarf was waiting at the front desk. As I thanked the receptionist, 2 women near the lobby fireplace looked toward me. One whispered something. The other turned away too slowly. I walked past them with the scarf over my arm. In the dining room, I asked for coffee. The woman who had commented on Marissa's post sat 3 tables away. She was having brunch with her husband. When she saw me, she looked down at her plate. I considered leaving. Instead, I sat at the window table. My coffee came in a white cup with the club emblem. I added cream and stirred it until the color was even. A few minutes later, the woman approached. "Carolyn, good morning. I didn't realize you were here." I gathered that. She touched the back of the empty chair. "May I? If you like." She sat but kept her body turned toward her own table. "I hope everything is all right with Jacob and Marissa. What have you heard?" "Nothing specific." "Then why are you asking?" Her face reddened. Marissa posted that they'd had a setback. "Yes." She seemed very hurt. "I'm sure she is." The woman glanced toward her husband. "She and Jacob have worked so hard on this event. I hope their work serves them well." "Of course." She waited for more. I drank my coffee. Finally, she said, "I suppose families have private matters." "They do." She stood. "I didn't mean to intrude. You commented publicly. I assumed privacy wasn't your concern." Her mouth opened. I kept my voice quiet. "If you don't know who did what, be careful whom you encourage to feel controlled." She gave one quick nod and returned to her table. Her husband asked something. She shook her head. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exposed. For years, the club had been one place where I could enter without explaining myself. My husband and I had celebrated anniversaries there. I had served on a luncheon committee. People knew me as Carolyn, not as someone's difficult mother. One vague post had reached the room before I did. I paid for my coffee and left. At home, I opened my savings account. The cleared club balance showed as a completed transfer. $14,800 was gone. I had saved that money slowly after my husband died. Part came from selling his second car. Part came from expenses I no longer had. I had kept it available for the house and emergencies. Now it covered wine, dinners, printing, and a room hold for an event that thanked someone else. I printed the account page. Then I stopped. I had enough papers. More paper wouldn't change the choice. At 2, Jacob knocked. He used to let himself in with the spare key. This time, he waited outside. When I opened the door, he held the key in his palm. "What's that?" "You changed the club password. I figured you might want this too. I didn't ask for it. You want boundaries. Don't turn one boundary into every door." He stepped inside but kept the key. "You told that woman at the club she didn't know the facts. She didn't. Now she's messaging Marissa. What did she say?" "That you confronted her." "She sat at my table." "You embarrassed her. She embarrassed herself." He shook his head. "This is exactly what Marissa was afraid of." "What was she afraid of?" "That you'd start telling people our business." "I told her not to accuse someone publicly when she didn't know what happened. That's still our business. Marissa made it hers. She didn't use your name. She used enough details." Jacob walked into the kitchen. His eyes went to the 3 green napkins folded on the counter. I hadn't put them away. He touched the top one. "You really expected us yesterday? I expected you to keep one of your possibilities open. We told you we were going to Susan and Gary's. You told me 6 days before Christmas that Marissa wanted that. I thought you understood. I did after your message." He pulled out a chair. "We found part of the gala money. How much?" "Gary is helping. We can use some company funds. Does it total $9,600? "No." "Then you haven't found the payment. We're close enough that the club might work with us. The club gave you terms. Terms can change. Mine won't." He stared at me. "Why did you call the events manager again?" I didn't answer immediately. He knew. Either the manager had told them I called, or my questions had appeared in the event notes. It didn't matter which. "I verified what you said. You went around me. You gave me the wrong day. I misspoke. You said Friday twice. I was under pressure. You were applying pressure." His eyes moved away. That was confirmation enough. I sat across from him. "Did Marissa write that post before or after Susan called me? What difference does that make?" "I'm asking." "After. So she knew I had explained the charges." "Yes. And she still wrote that I withdrew support at the last moment. She wrote how she felt. She wrote a false timeline. People don't know the timeline. That was the purpose." He pressed his fingers against his forehead. "Mom, can we please stop dissecting every sentence?" "No." He looked up. "No? No. Your wife uses soft words to hide hard facts. You repeat them. I'm finished pretending I don't understand. You think everything she does is calculated. I think she knows how public stories work. It's her profession. That's cruel. It's accurate." He stood and walked to the sink. There were no dishes in it. He looked outside at the bare branches beyond the yard. "I can't keep doing this," he said. "Doing what?" "Being pulled between you." "I'm not pulling. You ended the cards on Christmas morning, after your message. You were waiting for an excuse." "No, I was waiting for proof that I wasn't imagining the pattern." He turned. "And that message proved everything? It proved what you believed support bought." "That isn't what I meant." "What did you mean?" He opened his mouth, then he closed it. I waited. Finally, he said, "I was angry." "At me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you knew what the gala meant and you were making it harder. So you chose her parents. They were helping. So was I. Not anymore." There it was again. My place existed only while the help continued. I looked at the spare key in his hand. Until that moment, I still wanted the same thing I had wanted at the start. I wanted Jacob to admit the unfairness, bring Marissa to my table, repay the money, and invite me properly. I had imagined that if they did those things, we could return to normal. But normal was the arrangement that had trained them to use me. Normal was me waiting beside a cold dinner while Jacob checked whether I could be included. An invitation wouldn't fix that. Repayment alone wouldn't fix it either. "I don't want to be added to the gala invitation," I said. He frowned. "What?" I don't want a corrected card offered because you need the account. We weren't offering another card. You offered a website post yesterday. That was what you asked for. I asked for truthful credit before any of this happened. Now I want something else. What? I want you to handle the consequence without using me. He gave a tired laugh. That sounds like punishment. It's a test. Of what? Whether you can walk into a difficult room without making your mother pay the entrance fee. He looked toward the hallway. And if we lose it, then you lose the room. What about us? I don't know. His face changed at that answer. I had always rushed to reassure him. Even when he disappointed me, I told him we would be fine. That afternoon, I didn't promise. He set the spare key on the table. I think we need some space. You may be right. You're okay with that? No. I picked up the key. But I'm no longer paying to prevent it. He took his coat from the chair. At the door, he said, Marissa thinks you're going to show up Sunday and humiliate us. I haven't decided whether I'm going. Then decide. Why? Because if you're there when something goes wrong, everyone will think you planned it. I wrapped my fingers around the key. Something has already gone wrong. He left. This time, I didn't watch his car from the window. I went to the kitchen and put the green napkins back in the drawer. Then I removed Jacob's spare place from the table. I wasn't trying to earn an invitation anymore. I needed to see what my son did when my money, my labor, and my reassurance were all unavailable. I put the key in the blue cup beside my desk lamp. Then I opened a blank email. I addressed it to Jacob and Marissa. After a moment, I added Susan and Gary. The first draft was too long. It included every missed dinner and every delayed payment. I deleted it. The second draft sounded angry. I deleted that too. The third contained only facts. The existing club balance of $14,800 was charged through my primary membership. Jacob and Marissa paid $2,000. I paid the remaining $12,800 to keep the account current. Sponsored privileges ended on Christmas morning. The gala reservation has not been canceled by me. It remains available if the organizers pay the final $9,600 by the club's existing deadline. Please do not tell anyone that I canceled the event or withdrew promised gala funding. I never promised that funding. I read it aloud. Then I added one final sentence. If I am asked directly, I will give the same facts. I sent it. Jacob called less than 5 minutes later. Why did you include Marissa's parents? Because Marissa told them the venue was my contribution. You could have talked to us first. We've talked. That email reads like a legal notice. It's 7 sentences. You listed the money. The money is the part everyone keeps replacing with feelings. He was walking somewhere. I could hear a door shut. Gary thinks we lied to him. Did you? No. Did you tell him I agreed to fund the gala? We said you were supporting us through the club. That leaves out the part where I didn't agree. We thought you would. Then say that to Gary. This is going to affect how they see us. I looked at the blue cup. His spare key stood beside 2 pens. That's between your choices and their eyesight. He stopped walking. Who are you right now? Someone who checked the dates. He hung up. Susan replied to the email first. Thank you for clarifying. Gary and I did not understand that the event payment remained unpaid or that the prior charges had fallen to you. Gary responded a minute later. This matches what Carolyn and I discussed. Marissa didn't reply. I waited half an hour, then checked her public post. It was gone. That was the first visible result of giving facts without asking permission. I hadn't argued beneath her message. I hadn't asked strangers to choose sides. I had told the 4 people involved what I would say. Marissa removed the post because she knew I could support every sentence. At 10:30, Susan called. I thought email might make this colder, she said. I wasn't trying to make it warm. I suppose I earned that. I didn't answer. She continued. Gary and I have offered them $3,000. That's generous. It still leaves a large amount. Yes, Marissa is trying 2 cards. That's her decision. Gary thinks they should move the event. Can they? Not with 1 day's notice. Then they should have planned for the payment. Susan sighed. I keep thinking about that invitation. So do I. I didn't ask them to thank us. Did you object? No. Why not? She took her time. I liked it. That answer surprised me. Not because it was hard to believe, because it was honest. They made it sound as though we had done more than we had, she said. I knew that. I didn't ask what had been left out. I sat down. Thank you for saying so. I'm not apologizing for helping my daughter. I haven't asked you to. But I am sorry I accepted the whole story without looking at who was paying for it. The apology didn't change my account. It did give us one place to stand. What will you tell people? I asked. The truth about our part. Gary made introductions. I helped plan. We didn't fund the room. And me? That's yours to tell. No. You received the credit beside my omission. She was quiet. Then she said, if someone asks, I'll say the club access came through you. Thank you. I don't want this to become a public fight. Neither do I. Marissa thinks you do. Marissa thought I wanted to spend Christmas waiting beside a phone. Susan had no answer for that. Before ending the call, she said, I hope you know this isn't how I wanted your holiday to go. I know. It wasn't how she wanted hers to go either. That didn't make our losses equal, but it made her voice sound less polished. At noon, I made soup. I ate at the kitchen table with my notebook closed. My phone stayed quiet for nearly an hour. Then an email arrived from the club. The subject line read, Member Invitation Confirmation. I almost deleted it, thinking it was connected to the invitation Marissa had mailed. It wasn't. The gala had been listed as an open business networking event. Because chamber guests were attending, the club had offered a small number of courtesy invitations to longtime members who had served on business and luncheon committees. My name was on that list. The message invited me as Carolyn Hayes, primary member. There was no request to arrive early, no task at the door, no handwritten instruction from Marissa. At the bottom were 2 buttons: attend, decline. I left the email open while I carried my bowl to the sink. Going could look cruel if the room was lost. Jacob had already warned me about that. Staying home would protect me from the scene. It would also leave Marissa free to explain my absence and the unpaid room however she wished. I wasn't going to interfere with payment. I wasn't going to speak before there was a reason. But I no longer wanted their version traveling through rooms I was afraid to enter. I pressed attend. A confirmation appeared. We look forward to welcoming you. I printed it and placed it in the folder. Then I chose a navy dress from my closet. It was simple and comfortable. I had worn it to a club anniversary dinner with my husband. I checked the hem, brushed the shoulders, and hung it on the outside of the closet door. That was all. I didn't call Jacob. I didn't call Marissa. At 2:15, the events manager called me. I'm confirming tomorrow's attendance list, she said. I saw your response. Yes, I wanted to make sure you understood that the event payment remains pending. I do. If the organizers cannot complete payment during setup, we'll have to release the room. I understand. Will you be attending in connection with the organizers or as a club member? As a club member. All right. I'll note that. What does the note do? It makes clear that your attendance isn't an authorization to charge your account. I hadn't thought of that. Please add it. I will. That practical sentence mattered. My physical presence could not be treated as consent. The events manager confirmed that any food or drink I ordered outside the gala would go only to my personal member check. No company charge could be attached without my authorization. When the call ended, I added the information to my notebook. Attendance separate from sponsorship, no authorization by presence. At 3, Jacob called. You are SVPD. Yes, why? I was invited. By whom? The club. This is our company event. You listed it as an open business networking event. That was for visibility. It worked. He didn't appreciate that. Marissa thinks you're coming to watch us fail. I'm coming because I'm a member. You haven't attended one of our business events before. You haven't invited me to one without assigning work. That's not true. Name one. He couldn't. I waited. Mom, please decline. No. If we lose the room, do you understand how it will look with you standing there? Yes. You'll look like you caused it, only if you lie. This isn't about lying, it's about perception. I paid enough for your perception. His breathing became louder. We're trying to cover the balance. I hope you do. Do you? Yes. He went quiet. That answer didn't fit the argument he had prepared. I continued. If you pay the club, the gala continues. I'll sit with the other members. I won't interrupt. I won't discuss the account unless someone asks me directly. And if we can't pay, the club will follow its policy. Then what will you do? Order dinner somewhere else in the building. That's cold? It's practical. He lowered his voice. Marissa won't be comfortable with you there. She was comfortable charging me for it. Stop saying that. No. He hung up. 10 minutes later, Marissa called. I let it ring. She called again. On the third call, I answered. Why are you doing this? She asked. I accepted an invitation. You know what I mean. I'm not arriving early. I'm not welcoming guests. I'm attending as a club member. You told the events manager not to charge your account. I confirmed what was already true. You're making them suspicious. The unpaid balance made them cautious. Her voice tightened. If you come, people will assume you're representing the family. I'll represent myself. This launch is important to us, I know. Then don't turn it into a spectacle. I haven't posted anything. You emailed my parents. They were part of the arrangement you described. They're furious with me. They offered you $3,000. How do you know that? Susan told me. The silence shifted. Now she knew Susan and I were speaking directly. You're pulling my parents into your side, she said. There are no sides in an unpaid bill. You always do this. You make everything sound small and reasonable. Payment is small enough to fit on one line. She breathed hard into the phone. Then her voice became gentle. Carolyn, I think we should start over. Before noon tomorrow? Before more damage is done? What does starting over mean? Come to the house tonight. We'll have dinner. We'll talk like family. Who will be there? Me, Jacob, Mom, and Dad. What is the objective? The objective is peace. And the $9,600? We can discuss that, too. There it was. I looked at the navy dress hanging by my bedroom door. I'll come for 1 hour, I said. I won't bring my membership agreement, and I won't restore the cards. Her warmth disappeared. Then what's the point? To see whether you still want peace without access. She was quiet for several seconds. 7 o'clock, she said. I'll be there. After we hung up, I received an updated attendance confirmation from the club. My name appeared on the list without Jacob's or Marissa's household designation. The separation I had asked for was visible now. So was the place where they could aim next. At 7, I parked outside their house. The dining room curtains were open. I could see 5 places set around the table. Marissa opened the door before I knocked. Thank you for coming. You said 1 hour. She stepped aside. Susan was carrying a bowl from the kitchen. Gary stood near the window with a glass of water. Jacob remained seated at the table. He didn't look at me. Dinner was roast chicken, potatoes, and green beans. Susan had cooked. Marissa made sure I knew that within the first minute. Mom did all this so we could sit down properly. Susan gave her a quick look. I offered. I took the empty chair beside Gary. No one mentioned the gala until the plates were filled. Then Marissa folded her hands. We've made progress. How much? Gary answered. I offered $3,000. We know. Marissa looked at Susan. Susan kept her eyes on her plate. Jacob said, the company can cover $2,000. That makes 5. We have another card, Marissa said. With enough available credit? It should. Should. She pressed her lips together. The card has a $6,000 limit. There's an existing balance, but I made a payment this afternoon. Has the payment cleared? It will. By noon? It's scheduled. I cut a potato in half. So why am I here? Jacob finally looked at me. We need the membership restored as backup. No. Marissa lifted one hand. Please listen before deciding. I decided yesterday. You didn't know we had most of the money. You still don't. We will. Then you don't need my account. Gary cleared his throat. I said the same thing. Marissa turned toward him. We need protection in case the payment doesn't post. Protection from what? I asked, losing the room over a processing delay. Whose card is it? Mine. Whose payment? Mine. Then whose processing delay? Her fork touched her plate harder than necessary. Susan said, Let's eat before everything gets cold. We ate in silence for a few minutes. The chicken was good. I told Susan so. She thanked me without making the compliment do more work than it could. After the plates were cleared, Marissa brought her laptop to the table. We drafted something. She turned the screen toward me. It was a short message for the company website. We're grateful to Carolyn Hayes for providing club access during our early development, and to Susan and Gary Torres for their guidance, planning, and business introductions. I read it twice. The statement was accurate. When will you post it? Tonight, Jacob said. Marissa looked at him. He corrected himself. After we settle everything. Settle what? The event. So the truth waits for my account. That's not what he means, Marissa said. It's exactly what he means. She closed the laptop partway. We're trying to give you what you asked for. I stopped asking. Then why send that email to stop a lie? What lie? That I promised to pay for the gala. No one said you promised. You told your parents the venue was my contribution. That was before you decided every word needed a hearing. Gary shifted in his chair. Marissa, you did make it sound paid. She looked at him. Dad, please? No, I gave you money today because I thought this was a short-term gap. I'm not putting it on my card if Carolyn never agreed. You already gave us the money. I can ask for it back. Jacob leaned forward. Gary, we need that payment. You need to be clear about what I'm paying toward. Susan put her hand near Gary's arm. He didn't move. Marissa looked around the table. This is what she wanted. I set down my water. What did I want? Everyone questioning us. Everyone treating us like we're irresponsible. I didn't create the balance. You created this meeting. You invited me. For peace. No. For backup access. Jacob pushed his chair away from the table. Can we stop? He walked into the living room. I could see him standing near the fireplace with his hands on his hips. Marissa followed. Jacob, come back. He didn't. Susan began gathering glasses. I stood. My hour is almost finished. Marissa returned to the table. If you leave now, we'll have to make a decision about what we tell guests. What decision? We have nearly 200 people expecting an event. Tell them payment is still pending. We're not going to announce our finances. Then say plans aren't final. That makes us look incompetent. I waited. Her voice became quieter. If the room is released, people will ask why. Answer accurately. We can say the venue support changed. You can say you booked before securing payment. That would damage the company. Then find another accurate sentence. She crossed her arms. We could say a family sponsor withdrew at the last moment. You could. It would be false. The sponsorship was withdrawn. Charging privileges were revoked after months of unpaid and unauthorized expenses. No one needs those details. They do if you blame me. Jacob came back into the dining room. Mom, restore the cards until noon. If Marissa's payment clears, we won't use them. And if it doesn't, we charge only the difference. No. His face went still. Then what are we supposed to tell people? The truth. You keep saying that like truth doesn't have consequences. It has already cost me $12,800. We owe you. You also owe me accuracy. He looked at Marissa. I saw the decision pass between them without words. Marissa opened the laptop again. She clicked into an email draft. The subject line read, Important Venue Update. She turned the screen toward me. The message said the company was working through a last-minute venue issue after expected family sponsorship was unexpectedly withdrawn. It promised the launch would continue in some form. You already wrote this, I said. We had to prepare, she replied. Who receives it? Everyone on the guest list. Does it name me? No, it identifies me. Only to people who know. Those are the people whose opinion concerns you. She looked straight at me. If you restore the membership, we don't send it. Susan stopped stacking glasses. That's not right. Marissa turned. Mom, stay out of it. You brought us into it. I am trying to save our company. Gary stood. Save it with your work. Don't send that. You're both taking her side now? I'm taking my $3,000 seriously. Marissa's face reddened. Jacob remained beside her. I asked him, did you approve this? He looked at the email. Yes. The word hurt more than Marissa's entire speech. He had read a false version and decided it was useful. I picked up my handbag. Then send what you choose. Mom, he said, you've made the decision mine long enough. If you walk out, don't expect me to defend you tomorrow. I stopped expecting that. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? His voice cracked. If this goes badly, I don't know how we come back from it. I held his eyes. Neither do I. Marissa's hand rested near the trackpad. You can still prevent it. So can you. I thanked Susan for dinner. Gary opened the front door for me. As I stepped outside, he said quietly, I'm not withdrawing the $3,000 tonight, but I'm not adding more. That's between you and them. I know. He looked back toward the dining room. I should have asked better questions. So should I. I drove home. At 8:26, the venue update reached my email. Marissa had included me on the guest list. She had sent it exactly as written. The family sponsor wasn't named. The wording made it sound as though the company had relied on a clear promise that vanished without warning. Within minutes, replies began. One guest wrote, "So sorry someone put you in this position." Another offered a smaller conference room at her office. It would hold only a fraction of the guests. The woman from the club sent, "Some of us understand what's happening," Marissa replied to her. "Thank you. We're trying to handle this with grace." I saved the email. At 9, Susan called. I told her not to send it. I know. Gary is furious. He can tell her. He has. Then there's nothing else for you to do tonight. She lowered her voice. Are you still going tomorrow? Yes. Marissa may confront you in front of people. I won't confront her. That doesn't mean she won't. I know. Susan was quiet. I don't want to be caught between my daughter and the truth, then stand beside the truth. It doesn't require you to stand beside me. After we hung up, I checked the club portal. My membership remained active. Jacob and Marissa's names remained gray. Their charging privileges had not returned. The gala payment was still pending. At 10:12, Jacob sent a message. If you attend tomorrow knowing what could happen, I'll take that as your choice to end this relationship. I read it at the kitchen table. His spare key stood in the blue cup. The navy dress hung from the bedroom door. The club invitation remained inside my folder. There was no answer that could keep my account closed and make him feel rescued. That was the price he had finally named. I typed slowly, I will not restore the cards. I will attend as an invited member. What happens to our relationship will depend on what both of us do after that. The message showed as read. He didn't reply. I turned off the kitchen light, but I left the porch light on. Then I set my alarm for 8 and placed the folder beside my handbag. At 8:12, I woke to 14 new emails. Most were replies to the venue update. One person had used reply all. Can someone clarify who withdrew the sponsorship? Some of us made plans based on the club location. Marissa answered only the sender. We're handling it privately. I could have answered everyone. I had the statement. I had Jacob's written promise. I had the email showing the payment deadline had existed long before Christmas. For several minutes, I sat in bed with my phone in both hands. One reply could have corrected the public version before anyone arrived. It also would have turned their business launch into a family argument before breakfast. I opened a response. The venue wasn't fully funded. Sponsored charging privileges ended after prior unpaid charges were left on my primary account. I read the words. Then I deleted them. I wasn't going to protect a lie. I also wasn't going to scatter private statements across a guest list just because Marissa had moved first. At 9, I showered and dressed. I made coffee but couldn't finish it. The navy dress hung against the bedroom door. I left it there while I called the club. The events manager answered. "I know this is a difficult morning," she said. "Has anyone asked you to restore the sponsored privileges?" They asked whether we could, and I explained that only the primary member can authorize sponsorship. Could my attendance be treated as authorization? No. Your account note is clear. What if Jacob tells you I agreed verbally? We would speak with you directly. That removed one uncertainty. No apology, argument, or family claim could reopen those cards. It required my decision. What time will you review payment? The organizers are arriving at 11 for setup. We'll complete payment before final room preparation, and the deadline remains noon? Yes. If their payment works, the event goes ahead? Yes. I don't want you to stop a paid event. I understand. If it doesn't work? We release the room and stop setup. Even with guests arriving? The organizers were advised not to admit guests until payment was completed. I looked at the email in my inbox. They've already told people the venue may change. That was their choice. Have they requested another room? They asked about smaller spaces. Nothing else can accommodate their guest count today. That wasn't punishment. It was the result of reserving a large room without securing the final money. Will you give them extra time if I'm present? Not unless payment processing itself is delayed after an approved transaction. We won't extend for an unavailable balance or declined card. The distinction was simple enough. If money had been approved and the bank was slow, the club could wait. If the money wasn't there, it wouldn't. Thank you. Mrs. Hayes, I need to ask one thing. All right. Are you planning to discuss the account during setup? Only if I'm blamed directly. We try to keep financial conversations private. So do I. She understood. We'll handle the policy, she said. I'll handle myself. After the call, I wrote down the confirmation. Only I could restore sponsorship. My attendance authorized nothing. Approved payment meant the gala continued. No approved payment meant the room was released. I closed the notebook. At 9:40, Jacob knocked. I was still in my robe. When I opened the door, he looked as though he hadn't slept. His hair was uncombed. He wore the same shirt he had worn at dinner. Can I come in? For a few minutes. He followed me to the kitchen. Marissa's card payment still hasn't posted. I'm sorry. She called the bank. They said it could clear today. That may be enough. The available credit hasn't changed. I waited. He put his hands on the back of a chair. We need $4,600. What happened to the $6,000 limit? She has an existing balance. I know, she told me. We thought the payment would open enough, and it didn't. Not yet. What are you asking? He looked at me. Restore one card, no, just mine. No, you can set a limit. The portal doesn't work that way. Then stand beside us when we pay. If there's a difference, authorize only that amount. No. His face tightened. You said you didn't want us to fail. I don't. This is how you prevent it. No. This is how I fund it. We'll repay you. You already owe me $12,800. We start next month. I have a schedule. I don't have proof. He walked to the window. Gary's bringing the $3,000 directly. We have $2,000 in the company account. That should leave $4,600. Yes, if Marissa's payment clears, we're fine. Then wait for it. And if it doesn't, you change the event. To what? That's your work. He turned from the window. You're going to watch your son lose everything over $4,600. You aren't losing everything. You don't know that. Your company isn't inside the Ouachita room. Our reputation is. Then stop telling people someone else promised the room. He stared at me. You care more about being right than you care about me. No. I finally understand that caring about you doesn't require financing every choice. That sounds like something you practiced. I had a quiet night. His mouth moved, but he didn't answer. I went to the desk room and returned with the invitation. I placed it in front of him, read the note on the back. I've seen it, read it aloud. He looked at the handwriting. Carolyn, please arrive early. We'll need help welcoming guests. Now read the printed thank you. He didn't. Why are we doing this again? He asked. Because you keep asking why I won't stand beside you with my card. I said we should have credited you. Did you say that in the guest email? No. Did you correct Marissa when she called my support expected? He looked away. Then you still want private gratitude and public blame. That email was about protecting the company. So is my answer. He picked up the invitation. For a second, I thought he might tear it. Instead, he set it down. If you don't help today, I meant what I wrote last night. I know. I won't keep coming back. I know. You'll be alone? The kitchen clock sounded very loud. I folded the invitation once, along the crease already there. Then that is what your refusal costs me. His eyes filled. You make it sound like I'm doing this. You wrote the condition. Because you left me no choice. No, I left you no access. He stepped away from the table. I don't recognize you. That makes two of us. He walked to the door. Before opening it, he said, Don't bring those papers. What papers? Statements, screenshots, whatever you're planning to show people. I'm not planning a presentation. Marissa thinks you are. Marissa thinks in campaigns. This is our life. So was my Christmas table. He opened the door. I guess I'll see you there. Yes. He left. I locked the door and leaned against it for several seconds. Then I went to the bedroom. The cruelest thing available to me was easy. I could arrive with copies for every guest. I could stand near the entrance and explain the balance before Marissa said one word. I didn't do that. I placed the full folder back in the locked desk drawer. I took only 3 things. My own club invitation, the gala card with Marissa's note, the payment confirmation showing I had cleared the prior balance. Those were enough if someone accused me directly. They weren't a speech. At 10:30, I put on the navy dress. I fastened my husband's plain silver watch around my wrist. It hadn't worked since the year before, but I wore it sometimes. I checked the actual time on my phone. Then I drove to the club. The parking lot was already filling. A delivery van stood near the side entrance. 2 workers were unloading flower stands. I parked in my usual area and entered through the main doors. The receptionist checked the attendance list. Good morning, Mrs. Hayes. Good morning. She found my name and handed me a small printed badge. It said, Carolyn Hayes, club member. No family label, no company roll. I pinned it to my dress. The doors to the Wachita room were open. Inside, half the tables had white cloths. Boxes of programs sat near the entrance. The room looked caught between promise and permission. Marissa stood at the registration table. When she saw me, she stopped arranging name cards. You came early. The invitation said member arrival begins at 11. That's for networking. Yes. Her eyes moved to my badge. Where are your papers? In my handbag. All of them? No. She looked past me toward the lobby. I'm asking you not to discuss our finances. I won't unless you blame me. We're not doing this here. Good. Jacob entered through the side door carrying a box. He saw me, then looked away. Gary followed with Susan. Susan wore a dark green dress and carried nothing. Gary had his wallet in one hand. He came directly to me. I'm paying my $3,000 to the club, he said. Not through them. That's sensible. I want the receipt. You should. Marissa heard us. Dad, we discussed this. We discussed the amount. We didn't discuss me handing you cash without a record. It's not cash. You know what I mean. Susan touched his arm. Let's finish one thing at a time. The events manager entered with a slim folder. She greeted me as she passed. Marissa noticed. You called her again, she said. I confirmed the policy. You keep saying policy like you're not the person behind it. I'm the person who ended sponsorship. The payment belongs to you. She stepped closer. If the room is released, I'll tell people exactly why. then include the prior balance. Her face hardened. Jacob placed the box on the registration table. Can everybody stop? A few guests had begun gathering in the lobby. They were early despite the venue update. Some held coats, others carried business cards and small gift bags. One woman smiled toward Marissa. Marissa smiled back automatically. The events manager checked her watch. We need to complete final payment now. Marissa looked at Jacob. He took out his phone. She opened her handbag. Gary moved toward the manager with his card. I remained beside the lobby entrance, wearing my member badge. I could still restore the sponsorship from my phone. 1 minute would protect Jacob from the scene forming around him. It would also return us to the same arrangement. I put my phone on silent and placed it inside my handbag. Then I stayed where I was. Gary handed over his card. I'm authorizing $3,000, he said. The events manager entered the amount. Gary signed the receipt and put his copy in his wallet. Then Jacob used the company debit card. $2,000 went through. The manager looked at the screen. That leaves $4,600. Marissa removed a card from her wallet. The payment I made should have cleared. She handed it over. More guests entered the lobby. Their voices carried through the open doors. Someone laughed near the coat room. A man asked where registration would begin. Marissa glanced toward them. Could we finish this in the office? The payment station is here because setup is here, the events manager said. Marissa smiled tightly. Of course. The manager ran the card. A small message appeared on the screen. I couldn't read it from where I stood. Marissa could. Try it again. I can do that. The manager ran it a second time. The same message appeared. It was declined, she said quietly. My bank told me the payment was scheduled. It may not have posted. Can you call them? You'll need to call your bank. Marissa grabbed her phone. Jacob opened his banking app. How much can you cover? She asked him. I'm checking. You said you had room. I said I might. Gary looked at Jacob's screen. I've paid what I offered. I know, Jacob said. Susan moved toward the arriving guests. I'll ask everyone to wait in the lobby. Marissa looked up from her phone. No, bring them in. We're resolving it. The room isn't paid, Susan said. It will be. She walked to the registration table and straightened the programs. Then she raised her voice. Several guests entered. That was the moment she committed fully. She knew the balance. She knew the cards were no longer active. She knew I had never promised the final payment. Still, she put the false version into the room before the truth could interrupt it. People began choosing tables. The events manager stepped in front of the nearest guests. I'm sorry. Final setup hasn't been authorized. Please remain in the lobby. Marissa's smile disappeared. We're paying. You're attempting payment. That's the same thing. It isn't. The guests stopped moving. Jacob held out his card. Try this for the rest. The manager entered the remaining amount. The card was declined. Jacob stared at his phone. That doesn't make sense. What's your available balance? Marissa asked. I can't cover all of it. How much? He turned the screen away. Not enough. Marissa called her bank. An automated voice asked for card information. She pressed numbers too quickly and had to start again. More guests arrived. The woman who had approached me at brunch came through the main doors. She saw my badge, then looked toward Marissa. A chamber member asked, Are we changing rooms? Marissa covered the bottom of her phone. We're handling a private family issue. The woman from brunch glanced at me. I said nothing. The bank transferred Marissa to a representative. She gave her name and answered security questions, while everyone nearby tried not to listen. Finally, she said, I made a payment yesterday. Why hasn't my available credit changed? She listened. No, I can see the payment. It says pending. Another pause. When will it post? Her shoulders dropped. Monday. She ended the call. The events manager checked the time. It's 12:11. Marissa looked at her. We've already paid $5,000. That amount can be refunded. We're only short because the bank is holding my payment. The card doesn't have enough available credit. It will on Monday. The The deadline is today. You can wait 2 days. We cannot hold this room through another scheduled event." Marissa pointed toward the guests. "They're already here. They were advised not to enter before payment." The words were firm but not cruel. The club wasn't taking sides. It was refusing to turn an unpaid hope into staff work and food service. Jacob looked at me. His face had gone pale. "Mom." I stayed where I was. He crossed the lobby. "You can fix this. Your mother can hear you," Marissa called. He lowered his voice. "Please restore my card, just mine." "No. We have $5,000 already. You have $5,000 because Gary and the company paid it. We need the rest for 2 days. You owe me from the last 2 months. I'll sign anything. This isn't about another promise." His eyes filled. "Then what is it about?" I looked toward the invitation programs stacked on the table. Susan and Gary's names were printed on the front page beneath the company logo. My support was welcome when it stayed invisible. That's not true. Read the program. He looked toward the stack. Marissa wrote that. You approved it. I didn't read every line. You keep treating that as a defense. The woman from brunch had moved closer, so had 2 chamber members. They weren't pretending not to hear anymore. Marissa ended the bank call and walked toward us. "This is what you wanted." "No, you came here to watch." "I came because I was invited by the club. You knew our card might fail. So did you. You could have prevented this. So could you. You had the deadline." She raised her voice. She withdrew the membership on Christmas morning without discussing it with us. Several people turned. I answered at the same volume. "I ended sponsored charging privileges after clearing the prior balance you left on my account. That is not what happened." I opened my handbag. Jacob said, "Mom, don't." I removed the gala invitation and the payment confirmation. Nothing else. I showed the confirmation to Marissa. "This is the payment I made." She didn't look at it. "You offered to support us. I offered household club access in 2022. You knew we used it for business. I knew about some dinners. I didn't authorize this gala." She pointed toward me. "She's doing this because we spent Christmas with my parents." I took out my phone. The message was still there. I didn't hold it up for the room. I looked only at Jacob. "You told me you were spending the day with the family that supports you." His eyes dropped. Marissa spoke before he could. "That wasn't about money." My reply was, Gary came closer. "What reply?" he asked. I looked at him. I said the family receiving the credit could provide the support. Susan closed her eyes briefly. Marissa's face hardened. "So this is revenge?" "No. Revenge would be taking your company. I ended access to my account. You knew we couldn't pay. You knew before booking." Gary stepped beside Susan. "We didn't know," he said. Marissa turned on him. "Dad." "No. You told us the venue was Carolyn's contribution. You did not tell us she hadn't agreed." A chamber member near the door asked, "Was the room ever paid?" The events manager answered. The reservation remained tentative pending final payment. Marissa looked at her in disbelief. "That's confidential. The status of the room is relevant to guests currently waiting to enter it." Susan picked up one of the programs. She opened it to the thank you page. "Carolyn's name isn't here," she said. "Mom, stop." Susan continued. "Gary and I helped with planning and introductions. We did not pay for this room." The woman from brunch looked at me. "Did you?" "I paid $12,800 after their other charges were left on my account." Marissa laughed once. "She makes it sound like we stole from her. I didn't use that word. We had an agreement." "You broke it." Jacob remained beside me. I handed him the payment confirmation. He read the amount. "You paid this the same day?" he asked. "Yes. I thought you used a payment plan." "No. Why didn't you tell me?" "I did. You heard that I had removed the pressure from you. You didn't ask what it cost me." He looked at the invitation in my other hand. Then he read the note on the back. His face changed. The room had become quiet enough for me to hear the paper shift between his fingers. The events manager checked the payment screen again. "Mrs. Hayes, I need to confirm one final time." Do you authorize restoration of either sponsored household account? No. Marissa stared at me. I continued. My attendance does not authorize any charge. The manager nodded. That matches the account note. She turned to Jacob and Marissa. The final payment hasn't been completed. The tentative reservation is now released. Marissa grabbed the edge of the registration table. You cannot release it with guests standing here. The room was never fully secured. We paid $5,000. It will be returned to the original payment methods. What about the food? Food service wasn't finalized without payment. The flowers are here. The delivery company can collect them. This is humiliating. The manager remained calm. You may speak with the billing office tomorrow regarding the refunds. Marissa looked around the lobby. People watched her differently now. Not because I had called her a liar. I hadn't. They had heard the amount remain unpaid. They had heard the rule. They had heard Gary and Susan describe their actual help. The manager asked the setup workers to stop. One folded the corner of a white tablecloth back across the table. Another carried the unopened program boxes toward the entrance. The Wachita room doors remained open, but it no longer belonged to the event. Jacob handed the payment confirmation back to me. You could have covered the rest, he said. Yes, and you chose this. I chose not to finance a public story that erased me. His jaw tightened. You proved your point. No. The declined cards proved the room wasn't funded. Marissa stood beside him. We need to address our guests. Yes, I said. What are you going to tell them? Only what I already said. She looked toward the waiting crowd. Some guests had begun speaking quietly. A few checked their phones. Others remained still, waiting for direction. Marissa picked up one of the programs and held it against her chest. Jacob looked from her to me. Then he faced the guests. The room isn't available, he said. We did not complete the payment. Marissa turned sharply. He kept going. My mother didn't cancel a paid event. We expected to use her account, and she did not authorize it. Those two sentences changed the room. Marissa stepped away from him. Susan lowered the program in her hand. Gary gave one slow nod. Jacob didn't apologize. He didn't look at me. He simply stopped protecting the false version when it no longer protected him. The company still had its name, its clients, and the people standing in the lobby. What it no longer had was an unpaid stage. The events manager closed the Wachita room doors behind the last setup worker. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then a man near the entrance asked, "Is there another location?" Jacob looked at Marissa. She turned away. "We don't have another room," he said. "Anyone who wants to stay can meet us in the public lounge. We can still talk about the company." It wasn't a gala. There was no stage, catered meal, or polished presentation. The public lounge had ordinary chairs and low tables. People would have to buy their own drinks. About half the guests left. Some shook Jacob's hand before going. Others avoided him. One chamber member said she would reschedule their conversation for January. The rest followed him toward the lounge. Jacob carried the program boxes himself. Marissa remained at the registration table. "You're really going to let them see us like this?" she asked him. He stopped. "They already saw. We can still find somewhere." "Where?" "I don't know. Call around. It's Sunday. Then do something. I'm taking the materials to the lounge." She looked at me. "This is your fault." Jacob closed his eyes. Marissa. No. She wanted everyone to watch us fail. I told them the truth. You made us look dishonest. You sent the email to protect us. It didn't. She grabbed her handbag and walked toward the side entrance. Susan followed her. Gary stayed beside Jacob. "What do you need carried?" he asked. Jacob pointed to the remaining boxes. They took them to the lounge. I went to the dining room and asked for tea. The woman from brunch approached me again. This time, she didn't sit until I nodded. "I owe you an apology," she said. "Yes." She seemed surprised that I agreed so quickly. I made an assumption. "You repeated it publicly. I've removed the comment. That removes the words. It doesn't correct them." Her face tightened. What would you like me to do? Reply where you commented. Say you didn't know the facts. She looked toward the lounge. That could be awkward. It was awkward when you did know less. She took out her phone. I watched her type. I commented on an earlier post without knowing the financial arrangement. What happened today wasn't the cancellation of a paid event. I'm sorry for adding to an unfair assumption. She showed me before posting it. That's accurate, I said. She pressed the button. One small public lie had been corrected by the person who helped spread it. That mattered more than another private apology. She returned to her husband. Across the lobby, Jacob was speaking with 6 guests around a coffee table. He had opened one of the program boxes. Without the room, the programs looked too formal. He handed them out anyway. A woman asked him a question. He answered, then wrote something on her business card. The company hadn't disappeared. It just had to stand without borrowed furniture. The events manager came to my table. The refunds have been initiated, she said. Gary's $3,000 will return to his card. The company's $2,000 will return to its account. Thank you. The room is released. There will be no charge to your membership. I understand. She glanced toward the lounge. I'm sorry this happened in front of guests. So am I. We applied the same deadline we apply to every tentative booking. I know. She gave me a copy of the account note confirming no event charge had been made. I folded it into my handbag. That was the last thing I needed from her. She had explained the rule and enforced it. The rest belonged to us. Susan returned about 20 minutes later. Marissa left, she said. With your car? Gary and I came separately. Is she all right? She's angry. I know. Susan sat across from me. She says she'll never speak to you again. That's her choice. She doesn't mean it. I'm not going to guess. Susan wrapped both hands around the cup the server brought her. I told her the email was wrong. What did she say? That I betrayed her. You told the truth. She doesn't see a difference right now. I looked toward Jacob. Does he? More than he did yesterday. That isn't enough. No. Susan took out her phone. I'm going to post something about the launch. What? That Gary and I helped with contacts and planning. That the club access came from you. That we didn't fund the room. Why? Because our names are on those programs. Don't do it as a favor to me. I'm not. I don't want credit for money I didn't spend. She wrote the message while sitting across from me. She didn't ask me to approve it. When she finished, she posted it on her own page. Marissa called her immediately. Susan silenced the phone. I'll talk to her later. That was Susan's choice. It didn't make us close. It did separate her from the version she had enjoyed. Gary joined us after the guests began leaving. Jacob got 3 meetings for January, he said. That's good, Susan replied. He also got a lecture from one of the chamber directors about planning. Susan winced. He needed it, Gary said. He looked at me. My refund is already pending. I'm glad. I'm not giving it back to them. That's your money. They need to fund the next event themselves. Yes. He nodded. There was no apology between us. Gary hadn't used my account. He had accepted more credit than he earned, and he looked uncomfortable about it now. For him, discomfort was probably the beginning. At 1:30, I left. Jacob saw me near the front doors. Mom, wait. I stopped. He handed me the gala invitation and payment confirmation. I put them back in the envelope. Thank you. Can we talk? Not here. When? I don't know. He looked toward the parking lot. Marissa left me. She left the club. She said she's staying with her parents tonight. That's between you and her. She blames me for what I said. You said the room wasn't paid. I said we expected to use your account. Was that true? Yes. Then don't apologize for it. He rubbed his palms against his trousers. I should have told her no months ago. Yes, I thought I was keeping the peace. You were moving the cost. His face tightened. I'm sorry. I believe you feel sorry. That's all for today. He looked wounded. I let him. An apology given beside the consequence was still only a sentence. I needed to know what he would do after the lobby emptied. I drove home alone. The green napkins stayed in the drawer. I ate soup for dinner and went to bed early. Jacob didn't call the next day. Marissa sent one message. "You humiliated us in front of people who mattered." I replied, "You told those people I withdrew, promised funding." I corrected that. "The club released an unpaid room," she wrote back. "You could have handled this privately." I tried. 3 dots appeared for nearly a minute, then they disappeared. She didn't respond. On Monday, Jacob sent a correction to the full guest list. "We need to correct our prior venue update." The club room was tentative until final payment. Carolyn Hayes had not promised to fund that payment. Our company did not complete the balance by the deadline. We regret the inaccurate impression created by our earlier email. Marissa's name appeared at the bottom beside his. I didn't know whether she had agreed willingly. I only knew the correction went to the same people who received the accusation. That was an action. It still didn't reopen my door. The first repayment arrived in January. $500. Jacob included no request and no explanation. I checked the schedule. The amount matched. The next day, he emailed a list of the remaining charges. Each one was marked as business or personal. He attached clear receipts. I saved the email. A week later, another payment arrived from Marissa's account, $300. Her message said, "This is toward the personal dinners." I replied, "Received." Nothing more. They held their January client meetings in rented conference rooms. I knew because Jacob sent a corrected company update to the guest list. It thanked attendees for their patience and listed new meeting locations. My club wasn't mentioned. Near the end of January, Jacob called. "Do you need anything at the house?" "No." "Is the porch light working?" "Yes." "Have you had trouble with the back rail?" "No." He was quiet. I knew what he was doing. He was searching for a task because tasks were safer than conversation. "I'm not going to invent a repair for you," I said. "I wasn't asking you to." "Yes, you were." He gave a weak laugh. "Can I come by? Why?" "To see you. What do you need?" "Nothing." I looked at the spare key in the blue cup. "Come Sunday at 2. "Should I bring lunch?" "No." "Flowers?" "No." "What should I bring?" "Yourself." He arrived at 1:58. He carried nothing. I let him in, but I didn't return the key. We sat in the living room. My husband's reading glasses remained beside the chair. Jacob didn't ask about the club. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He told me Marissa was angry about the correction email, but had signed it because 2 potential clients had asked direct questions. Did she believe it was true? I asked. "Yes, that isn't what I asked." He looked at the floor. "I don't know." "Then don't speak for her." He nodded. We sat quietly for a while. Before leaving, he carried his coffee cup to the kitchen. He washed it, dried it, and put it in the cupboard without asking where it belonged. At the door, he said, "Can I call next week?" "You can call." That was all I offered. The following Sunday, he called. He didn't ask for money, access, a meal, an errand, or an answer he could carry back to Marissa. He asked whether 2 o'clock still suited me. He came the next Sunday and the one after that. Some visits lasted 20 minutes. Others lasted an hour. He stopped searching for broken things. We drank coffee. We talked about the weather, his work, and the neighbor's tree that kept dropping branches near my fence. He didn't ask for his key. In February, he asked, "Would you be willing to see Marissa?" "Does she want to see me?" "Yes." "That isn't the same question." He nodded. "She asked whether she could come Sunday." "What does she expect?" "To apologize. An apology won't settle the debt." "She knows." "Does she?" "I think so." "Ask her. Then call me again." He called that evening. "She understands the payments continue whether you see her or not." "Good. May she come?" I looked at my notebook. 2 scheduled payments had arrived on time. She may come for 1 hour. They arrived together. Marissa carried a plain envelope. She placed it on the table but didn't push it toward me. "That's the next payment," she said. "You could have transferred it." I wanted to bring the updated schedule. I opened the envelope. The payment was larger than required. The schedule showed how they planned to clear the balance by September. Can you afford this? We cut expenses, Jacob said. Marissa added, we canceled a conference trip. I looked at her. Are you telling me so I'll feel guilty? No, I'm telling you where the money came from. That was a better answer. She sat with both hands in her lap. I blamed you because admitting we couldn't pay felt worse. I waited. I knew the room wasn't fully funded, she continued. I thought your account would cover it. I also knew you hadn't agreed. Jacob looked toward her. She didn't stop. I thanked my parents because their help was easier to display. Your help came with a bill I didn't want people to see. That's true. I told myself you liked helping. I did. I used that. Yes. Her eyes filled, but she didn't ask me to comfort her. I'm sorry for the invitation. I'm sorry for the email. I'm sorry I made Christmas into proof that you weren't supportive. I folded the payment schedule. What are you going to do differently? We're paying our own expenses. That's one thing. We updated the company website. Jacob opened the page on his phone and handed it to me. The support section thanked Gary for introductions, Susan for event planning, and me for providing early club access and financial support during development. There was no mention of the failed gala. There didn't need to be. How long will this stay posted? I asked. It's part of the company history, Marissa said. It stays. And if I don't forgive you today, it stays. I returned the phone. I don't forgive you today. Her face tightened, but she nodded. All right. They left when the hour ended. Neither asked when they could return. In March, the payments arrived on time. Jacob and Marissa held a client breakfast at a small rented meeting room. They paid before sending invitations. Jacob mentioned it during a Sunday visit. How did it go? I asked. 14 people came. Did you feed them? Coffee, fruit, and pastries? Did you pay for all 14? Yes. He smiled slightly. We even have the receipt. I don't need to see it. I know. That mattered too. He was learning that responsibility wasn't a performance for me. It was how he needed to live when I wasn't checking. Marissa visited again in April. She called first. Would you be comfortable if I came without Jacob? For what? Coffee. Only coffee? Yes. I agreed. She brought a bakery box and the receipt. You can keep the receipt, I said. She looked embarrassed. I thought you might want proof I paid. I want you to pay because it's yours. I don't want to supervise every pastry. She put the receipt back in her handbag. We drank coffee in the living room. She didn't call me a second mother. She didn't ask me to forget what happened. We spoke about Susan's garden and a new client Jacob was trying to organize. Before leaving, she asked, May I call you next week? Yes. It was a small request. The asking mattered. By summer, they had held 3 business events without the club. One was in a rented conference room. One took place in a restaurant's private dining area. The third was online. None was elegant enough for the original invitation. All 3 were paid. Their company continued. It didn't become a fortune. It became work. They prepared proposals, found clients, lost one, gained another, and covered their bills. Without the club dining room, they met people over ordinary coffee. Jacob said the smaller meetings produced better conversations. I didn't point out how much that lesson had cost. Susan and I spoke once or twice a month. She never tried to mediate again. If Marissa was angry, Susan let Marissa say it herself. In May, Susan invited me to lunch at a local cafe. Just us? I asked. Just us. Who is paying? She laughed. I invited you. I'm paying. At lunch, she showed me the final version of the company history page. I made sure my part was accurate, she said. So did Gary? Gary made sure his name wasn't beside any money. That sounds like Gary. We didn't become best friends. We became 2 women who no longer needed a false version between us. Gary remained direct. At a summer cookout, he told Jacob, If you can't pay for a room, don't reserve a room. Jacob replied, I know. Gary said, Good. That was the entire discussion. The monthly payments continued. Sometimes they arrived early, never late. In August, Jacob transferred the second to last amount. Then he called. One more. I see that. September. I have the schedule. He was quiet. Do you believe we'll finish? I believe what you've completed. That's fair. He didn't ask me to say more. The final payment arrived in September, 9 months after the Ouachita room was released. I checked the balance twice. 0. That Sunday, Jacob and Marissa came together. Marissa removed 2 cards from her handbag. They're sponsored household cards. We should have returned these before, she said. They haven't worked since Christmas. I know. She placed them on the table. We don't want them restored. I looked at Jacob. Is that true for you? Yes, even if I offered? He took his time. Yes. Why? Because I need to visit you without an account attached. That was the answer I had been waiting to see him live. I put the cards in my desk drawer. Then I brought out 3 coffee cups. Limited repair began there. They could visit, but they called first. They could invite me, but no invitation came with a task. If they asked for help, I could say no without losing the next conversation. In October, Marissa asked whether I wanted to attend a company dinner. As what? I asked. A guest. Who is paying? The company. Is the room already paid? Yes. I attended. It was held in a restaurant with 20 people. Marissa welcomed everyone and thanked Susan and Gary for early introductions. Then she said, Carolyn gave us access and financial support when we began. We didn't always handle that help responsibly, but we've repaid what we owed. She didn't look at me while saying it. That made the statement better. It wasn't bait for my approval. After dinner, Jacob carried presentation materials to their car. He didn't ask me to hold anything. In November, he called about Christmas. May we spend the day with you? The question was plain. Who is we? Me and Marissa. Susan and Gary, too, if you're comfortable. At my house? If you'll have us. Who cooks? We'll order dinner and bring it. Who pays? We do. What time? Whatever you choose. I looked toward the drawer containing the green napkins. 1 o'clock. We'll be there at noon to set up. No, come at 12:30. I don't want a production. 5 people, 1 table. No company talk. Agreed. No photographs until after we eat. Agreed. And if plans change, you tell me before I buy food. We're buying the food. I know. I wanted to hear you say it. He laughed. We're buying the food. On Christmas morning, I didn't make biscuit dough for people who hadn't confirmed. I made coffee for myself. At 12:28, a car stopped outside. Jacob carried 2 covered dishes. Marissa carried a bag from the restaurant. Susan brought flowers. Gary brought sparkling water. No one arrived empty-handed. No one handed me a task. Marissa held out the restaurant receipt. Paid in full. I checked it. She didn't object. We ate roast chicken, potatoes, green beans, and warm rolls. It was simpler than the gala menu and better than the meal I had eaten alone the year before. Susan asked before taking a photograph. I said yes. After dessert, Jacob stood. Where do you want the dishes? Kitchen counter. He collected them without waiting for Marissa. I went to the desk room and opened the bottom drawer. The old cards lay beside the membership agreement. I cut each card through the magnetic strip. When I returned, Marissa had folded the dinner receipt beside my plate. Susan and Gary were putting on their coats. Jacob came back for the last serving dish. I placed the sponsored household cards, cut cleanly in half, beside the fully paid dinner receipt, while Jacob carried the last empty serving dish to the kitchen.